This time, I'd like to introduce a story where, under the Biden administration, the Democratic Party set up a dimensional device that China activated. So, first of all, I want you to look at this chart. This is the NASDAQ chart. From January 2021, when the Biden administration began, until January 2025, when it switched to the Trump administration, there was a significant dip, but then there was a recovery, and stock prices rose dramatically. The companies leading this stock price surge were American tech companies, especially Nvidia. Let's see how these major American tech companies are evaluated. Now, please look at this. This shows the PSR, price-to-sales ratio, of major American companies. In Japanese, PSR is known as the price-to-sales multiple. Specifically, it's the market capitalization of the company divided by its annual revenue. So, this number tells you how many years it would take for the current sales to match the market cap if sales remained constant. By the way, in Japan, we often talk about price-to-earnings ratio, to compare stock price levels or to judge if a stock is overvalued or undervalued, but for companies that are growing rapidly, it's more common to compare using PSR. In this chart, you can see that Tesla and Nvidia have particularly high figures. Tesla and Nvidia are in double digits, which is very high compared to Amazon's 3.5 in Japan. Incidentally, what's Toyota's PSR? At the time of recording, the data for January 30th is all we have since it's before the market close on the 31st, and Toyota's PSR was 1.03 times on January 30th. You might think American tech companies have a very high PSR compared to Toyota, but as I mentioned earlier, Toyota is a mature company where people expect stable management rather than a significant increase in sales. Hence, their PSR isn't as high as American tech companies. On the other hand, American tech companies have very high PSRs because they are considered undervalued at current prices if their sales are expected to grow in the future. People buy stocks of Tesla, Apple, or Microsoft because they see a bright future. Under the Biden administration, the stock prices of American tech companies have risen significantly, not based on past performance but on expectations for the future. If Toyota were expected to grow at the same pace, its stock price wouldn't be this high. This high stock price is based on the expectation that they will continue to grow. There's one premise in these forecasts: the future will be an era where AI is used globally, and American companies will lead this AI sector, with Nvidia's products being essential for AI development. Therefore, expectations for Nvidia are very high. Also, AI development requires substantial capital, so only giant American IT companies can undertake serious development. This means that American IT giants might monopolize or at least lead in AI, suggesting that the future will be dominated by American companies. However, parallel to this, there were movements during the Biden era. The Biden administration, as previously mentioned, engaged in a sort of cat-and-mouse game with export controls against China. Instead of stopping Nvidia product exports entirely, they allowed certain specs to be exported officially. Meanwhile, there were also instances of high-spec Nvidia products, whose export was prohibited, entering China through underground routes. This means that the Biden administration might not have intended to completely stop China's AI development. China managed to obtain a significant number of Nvidia products, which might have even reached the Chinese military. China was also developing AI, which was evident if you look at the search engines like Baidu, where AI summarized articles have been appearing for a while. This was known to everyone. So, under the Biden administration, while American tech companies were seen as having a bright future due to their hardware superiority, the reality was that American dominance might have been undermined by the lax control over chip exports to China. Recently, DeepSeek was released, followed by Alibaba's Qwen AI, sparking discussions about whose AI performs better or how well videos made with Qwen compare to those from American tech giants like ChatGPT. It turns out that the quality of these Chinese AI products is not far behind American ones, raising questions about the effectiveness of Biden-era chip restrictions. Now, there's also the issue of price destruction by Chinese companies, which could make it harder for American companies to profit, potentially challenging the high PSR of these companies. This economic problem is separate from political issues, where DeepSeek, for instance, embodies Communist Party values, like claiming the Senkaku Islands belong to China, showing it's been trained to reflect Chinese government views. This could lead to issues in countries outside Japan where these AI systems might be used. For Japan, the solution might be to develop its own highly usable AI to counter the spread of Chinese AI, which might be cheaper but carries political baggage. This is akin to the export of deflation by China, where they use low prices as a weapon to spread their technology. This scenario requires vigilance. From a technical perspective, recognizing that AI can be developed cheaply is significant, with some engineers noting that DeepSeek might not rely solely on CUDA but on lower-level programming closer to binary, which could be more efficient. This could lead to more companies or even individuals developing AI, potentially hurting the monetization strategies of American companies that have invested heavily in AI. However, for NVIDIA, this might not be a bad thing since even low-spec AI development would still require their hardware. The real threat might be to companies like Google or Microsoft, which have made massive investments in AI. If stock prices crash due to these dynamics, even if not directly Trump's fault, it could be attributed to his administration. The key now is how the Trump administration handles DeepSeek, given its open source. Strong regulation against DeepSeek might lead to new AI development within or outside the U.S. using the open source code, potentially damaging existing tech giants. This situation also raises questions about how Japan should respond to ensure it doesn't fall behind in the AI race, possibly needing government support to make Japanese AI a global standard. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.